Helldivers 2 has experienced what can only be described as an out-of-this-world launch, breaking a peak player count of 450,000 players on Steam alone over the weekend. This game has got people, including myself, gripped and more than willing to don their capes in the name of Super Earth. But it does beg a very big question. Just what does the future for Helldivers 2 look like? Does Arrowhead Studios have it in them to turn this into a long-standing staple of gaming, or is this another fad hit that is going to fiddle out in the next couple of months? G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we're going to have a chat about the future of Helldivers 2. So folks, to set some expectations here, it's very clear that the release and reception of Helldivers 2 has caught everyone off guard, and I well and truly do mean everyone. Gamers, the industry as a whole, even the developers themselves, no one was expecting Helldivers 2 to take off the way that it has done. I'd even wager a bet that the majority of people playing the game right now didn't even know it was a thing until recently. I know I certainly fit in those shoes. It's obviously a huge success, and that should be celebrated in its own right. But many have also started to turn their heads to the future in search of what this bug and bot shooting simulator is going to look like going forward. And at multiple levels, I've got to say, folks, the future looks pretty bright based on what we've seen so far here. The CEO of Arrowhead Studios and creative director of Helldivers 2, Johan Pilestedt, I'm really hoping I got your name right there by the way, has made it clear in multiple interviews that new content in multiple forms is very much a priority for the game's near future. The content includes the likes of new gear, that being weapons, gadgets, armors, etc., stratagems, biomes, and enemies. I mean, for one, given the game has already dipped its toes in the water when it comes to elemental weapons, it's clear there's a lot of room for exploration here in this universe, so that's going to be pretty exciting to see. Who knows, maybe we'll start seeing giant Tesla arcing orbital strikes as stratagems that we can use in the future, something of the sort. That would be pretty cool, actually. I must say, I do hope the developers take the opportunity as well to look into balancing the existing arsenal as well. There are very clearly some winners in the gear department right now that are just 10 times better than everything else that's on display. I'm looking at you, Breaker Shotgun. But let's be real here, folks. The real content that is going to help to keep Helldivers 2 fresh for the long run is 100% the enemies that we get to face in our missions. Obviously, versing bugs and bots is giving us a healthy amount of challenge for the time being. But in saying that, more variety is going to be key when it comes to the foes that we're versing for this game's longevity to succeed. Looking at the galactic map, it's very clear that new threats are going to emerge as time goes on, with many speculating that there is room for at least 3 more factions on this map here, maybe even 4, and we may not have to wait too long for the first new contender on the galactic map to arrive. A new faction in the form of the Illuminate are slated to be coming to the game soon TM. These guys are a long-lived aquatic species that have mastered the art of cybernetic and telepathic enhancements, of which I'm imagining will present a very unique challenge to fellow Helldivers out there. These guys are a faction that I've been told featured prominently in Helldivers 1, so we'll have to leave it to the veterans of the Helldivers universe to tell us what we're in for here. But the concept of another new faction coming to the game is exciting for Helldivers. It also means that Helldivers are going to be stretched far more thinly, and it's going to lead to a lot more, let's say, core decisions to be made regarding the galactic map and the war efforts on multiple fronts. But new factions are not the only new threat that I feel we're going to face as Helldivers 2 continues to expand. No. I have a feeling that the current factions that we're dealing with right now are going to evolve over time and present, let's say, new challenges to us on their home fronts as well. Now, while we haven't seen any confirmation of this yet, and this could be very much speculative from myself, I have a sneaking suspicion that we are going to see new enemy types from our Terminid and Automaton foes. I mean, we are currently just battling on the outer rim planets of their control, right? Could you imagine what kinds of bugs and bots are hiding away on the homeworlds, waiting in reserve for us to strike should we ever get there in surprise? I could only begin to imagine, folks. There's a lot of opportunity from a content perspective for the future of Helldivers 2 here, but on top of that, one thing I am very excited about is how the story behind this game is going to play out in the future. The developers have already demonstrated that they can kick off events in response to player behavior. If my understanding is correct, the automaton incursion that we're currently dealing with now was actually in response to lacking player presence on the automaton front. This is clearly a game that is very reactive to the actions of the players playing it, which means that from a story perspective, we are the ones telling the story, and the developers are here to provide the catalyst for that story to play out in a reactive way. The possibilities are well and truly endless. There's a chance we'll get some incredible events in the future that are based entirely off of new mission types in response to our actions. The developers also do seem to be treating this game like a D&D campaign in a way, acting as the DM in our story as Helldivers and merely giving us the canvas for us to make our decisions, which is quite frankly awesome for a live service PvE game like this. One thing on that note I do want to draw everyone's attention to here is the fact that even Super Earth on the map here has a liberation bar. It's not just by default 100% liberated. There's a bar there, which tells me one thing and one thing only. The war may very well come home to Super Earth in the future, and my god, you thought the online camaraderie for the Helldivers community was strong now? Could you imagine the TikToks, the memes, the sheer calls to arms that would happen should the war come home? In all honesty, makes me very excited, and it tells me that if Helldivers 2 is under the right management, this is a game that's here for the long run. And we also know that the developers are responding to the success of the game so far by bringing on more talent and expanding their development team. All the while also ensuring to not overhire staff to, provide some sense of job security in the overly volatile game dev market that's out there right now. And can I just say for a moment, off the back of that, the more and more I hear about this development studio, its CEO, and the decisions that they're making here, the more and more I bloody respect them. They just sound like a down-to-earth, humble dev studio that just wants to provide a good experience for both their staff, but also the gamers and the game that they're playing, essentially. They are just here to build a damn good game they are passionate about, and I can respect that at many levels. And on that note, folks, if I may, I want to wrap up this video with some closing remarks on the concept of live service games or games as a service, because ultimately, Helldivers 2 is one. And the very concept of live service games or games as a service has been thrown in our face a lot over the last few years as an excuse to push out either A, half-baked games with the promise that it'll get better over time, or B, a game that's really just a storefront in a trench coat pretending to be a game. It's left a bad taste in the gaming community's mouth as soon as we see those labels on these new games, and rightfully so. However, Helldivers 2 is a live service game, technically speaking, and it's the least live service feeling live service game I have ever played. There's a fun drinking game for you all, by the way, if you're looking to pre-game on a Friday night. Take a shot every time I just said live service. But no, if you've seen the YouTube short that I posted a couple of days ago, you'll know what I mean. Helldivers 2 is a game that focuses on being a fantastic game first and a shopfront designed to sell you stuff second. Sure, there's a battle pass and microtransactions in the game, and the game costs money at the forefront. But Helldivers 2 never jams the microtransactions in your face with annoying pop-ups or advertising or anything like that. Those are just hidden away in the menus for you to discover on your own time. To me, folks, Helldivers somewhat resembles what live service games should have been from the get-go. That being an ongoing, long-lasting project that lets developers tell an adaptive, interesting story within a game that would otherwise be out of scope for a non-live service game. A live service game by virtue should replace the need to do a sequel every 2 to 3 years, because your live service game is a 5-year-long project that gives value back to the players after their initial purchase through ongoing world events, ongoing story development, and ongoing seasonal changes. It's something that lets the community and the game live on beyond the initial release for the long run. It's not about jamming more seasonal microtransactions exclusively down the throat of your players with minimal changes to the game's content. It's again a living game and not a living storefront. Live service as a concept should be about the more you stick with the game, the more core content you're going to get to experience, rather than the more you stick with the game, the more timed skins you have the opportunity to purchase. Now, don't get me wrong, live service games need ongoing funds to survive in this gaming economy to manage upkeep costs. To suggest otherwise is simply out of touch with the space and with just how business works. But Helldivers 2 has done the one thing that many in the industry have failed to do as of late. It's focused on the experience first. It's confident enough in itself as a game to not need to put the carrot on the stick in front of you to, constantly incentivize you to purchase new stuff. It knows that if you want to support the game as a consumer, you will, out of your own free will. So it focuses on being the best game it can be to help you as a player make the informed decision to support it further. And by doing so, it's clear that Arrowhead Studios have put a lot of the groundwork in place in Helldivers 2 to do some really interesting things with the living world of this game in the long run. And that small single detail, folks, along with everything else we've seen from the game so far and the news around it, gives me a lot of hope for the future of Helldivers 2 here. It tells me that these developers are excited to give us the experience that we as gamers are looking for, and they are here for the ride for the long run. And as a fellow Helldiver, I'm right there with them. And folks, with all of that said, that wraps up today's video discussing the future of Helldivers 2. Not gonna lie guys, this game has got me absolutely hooked and I cannot wait to bring you some more content on it. Be sure to come follow our Twitch channel, linked in the description down below, to come check out our Helldivers 2 streams. We're going to be running community nights on the game very frequently, so if you're looking for more squad mate action, come say good day. It'd be great to have you guys a part of the community there. Like the video if you enjoyed it guys, as it does go a long way to supporting the channel, and if you're new here, consider subscribing as well to stay up to date with future video releases. We don't just do Helldivers stuff here, we do a lot of different content. Once again guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care guys, have a good one.